planning like Vygotsky. When planning in this way, one must consider the social constructivist lens. First, we need to think about our learners in our classroom. Who are they? And who is the wider community that they'll be engaging with? What is in their heart? What makes them feel belonging? What are their cognitive strengths and stretches? What gifts do they bring that make them unique? And what, as educators, do we need to know more about? Finally, we need to consider the social-emotional aspect of these students and how we can support them. Here are some questions to get us started. Next, we need to think about the people that will be in our room. How will we mobilize our resource teachers, educational assistants, and teacher librarians to plan out what our steps are going to be for an inclusive setting? How are we going to get our students to the finish line through planning with the end in mind? How are we going to work together to... Next, we need to consider all of the little parts that help us be successful. What are the tools that our students are going to need in order to be successful? What are their norms that we'll need to put in place? What digital literacy skills will they need? And how are we going to teach them to communicate in a way that they can be successful? Here are some questions that can guide us. Now, how are we going to make sure that we have room for scaffolding experiences and that our community knows how to work together? Where are we going to ensure that there is zones of proximal development for our learners and that we have inquiry in our classroom and provocations? What materials are we going to use to support this work? And how are we going to teach our students to ask the kinds of questions that are going to help them with their learning? We need our learners to be empowered so that they know what to do when they're outside of the classroom, so that they have those skills within them. Here are some questions. Now, we need to look at our assessment practices. We need to know when our students are proficient and when they're not. We need to document the process and the materials they use and capture their learning and measure it. We need to use a cycle of feedback so that we're nudging our students as we go along so they know their next steps in learning. and that we know our next steps in teaching. And when we put it all together, we have a detailed, thoughtful, cyclical plan of how we can plan like Vygotsky.